We are several hours from the NFL draft after a long off season, what feels like an eternity. We're getting close to future millionaires, future felons, and future Hall of Famers, maybe. Past the future fellas. Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. Now I'm joined by my NFL guru, Chris Franklin of NJ.com, Philadelphia Eagles beat writer. Scrap the felons line. It worked when I practiced it in the mirror. I thought it was funny, and it felt bad, and now it feels even worse that I said it. What's good, Chris?
Nothing much, man. I think you're gonna see a lot of future ex girlfriends too when they see like, oh, I got paid.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
the
you'll see a lot of new children being born. If you ever were to if anyone ever had time, if you were to do a chronological countdown to that NFL draft week and how many NFL children line up with that draft week, it'd probably be amazing. It's like you got your COVID babies, you got your NFL draft babies. So speaking of things going on behind the scenes that no one talks about, what are you hearing leading up to the draft? What's caught your ear? What are you holding on to, and what are you dismissing?
we're in the middle of lying season right now. It was so is the stuff that I've heard sometimes are like, wait, what? That's not like everybody's putting their landmines out right now,
Mm,
trying to basically get their guy to either fall to their position
yeah.
or mask what they're doing. So every time I keep hearing, like I've heard one crazy trade where the Eagles are trying to get up to five. For that person, like, okay, I know this is a landmine. They're not moving that far up. So stop, just stop. Like that. You're hearing stuff
Nobody
like
there
that.
for them at 5.
It- there's nobody there from them 7, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
maybe. And by that one too, like, and there was the report that came out today about the whole the Eagle Howie Roseman's trying to trade up. Well, that's what he does for everybody. Like if
Mm,
you look back 2019, 2020, 21, he always talks with everybody. Now, we've heard when we talked to Howie for the pre-draft availability, he has said that he's always talking, just trying to get deals in places in case he likes it. That's one of his favorite parts of the draft. Is it out the realm of the Eagles trade up? No, it's not. I don't think he can do that because you got the two twos there. But I don't foresee him going anywhere beyond maybe that 15, 16 range because there's been a lot of people say 18 is the cutoff for true first round talent. So if
yeah.
anything, I think probably trade back. But it's going to be welcome to lying season, everybody. Don't hold on too much to what you hear, especially these last 48 hours leading up to the draft.
Well, all right. Let me ask this question then. It is line season, but there are teams who are definitely looking to make a move. What's a team you think is going to move up and a team that's going to move down?
I think the Minnesota Vikings. I think they're really going to try to move up to get one of those quarterbacks.
Wow.
And I think they can do it. And the tea leaves, I look at it, and I hope it's and for their sake, I hope it's not JJ McCarthy because I think that's the guy. They from where they're sitting right now, possibly going to six. I say that's one team I keep my eye out on. I really think they might be trying to move up and
Now,
doing
before
that.
you go to the team moving down, let's talk about the Vikings because I was going to get to them later about Justin Jefferson. Is there outside shot he's on the move? Let's say, well, let me ask you this. Why would they want to make that move? Obviously, Justin Jefferson is the low hanging fruit, but you know how I feel about low hanging fruit. It's not always good. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Sometimes it's poisonous. Is it smart to make a move with a young quarterback with an already established wide receiver? Why would they not want to go with, just I don't want to say rebuilding, but you look at the Packers. Barring something unforeseen, they're a young team that's going to be around for a while. I don't think their quarterback's going to struggle. I actually like their quarterback. I love their rushing attack. I know they lost their running back in the offseason. They're going younger. But even so, I like the scheme that they're doing. I like the young players. It seems like they always find some wide receiver going all the way back to the Sterling Sharp, not Shannon for you young kids, but Sterling was a bad man. Sterling was that dude before there was that dude. Why would you want to make that move? The Bears are going to be a young team with Caleb. Like, wouldn't it make more sense to kind of sit back and just draft your team as you fall or at where you sit?
I think when you look at it, I think from a bottom up standpoint, Kevin O'Connell will do that because I still think he's on the hot seat next year just because
Yeah,
it's basically
that most
that.
definitely.
So I think he's looking for that aspect. And I also think when you look at it long term wise, you don't know when it comes back. You don't. Their thought is they're not going to be that high again, given that they have Addison and they have Jefferson and they have that squad together on offensively. So they don't foresee themselves being out there. So they might as well take their shot right now. And you have two first round draft picks. I know they got. I think it was 13. I want to say 13, but They have another one like later in the middle of in the first round as well too. So you have two first round picks where you can definitely leap up and you can try to grab one of these guys in order to get that. Now, the teams you need two to tango. The only team I really foresee like in that top five potentially moving down is Arizona Cardinals, and for them, they already have a bunch of picks to begin with.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that's the spot for them. I'm just for them. I think they're saying, you know what, we're not going to mess it up. We're going to stick with Marvin Harrison Jr. So Minnesota might be on the way out, but I think the Giants are another team to look at too. But the Giants are playing too coy with the whole. We like JJ McCarthy in the LSU wide receiver in Rome as well too. I think I look at them and like, okay, those would be guys they can definitely target too and stick with Daniel Jones for a year. So it's so many moving parts. But I look at the Minnesota's moving up, and I kind of look at the Cardinals. I doubt they will, but I look at them as the most likely, if any team of note, to move back.
draft. I always do, and I always look at teams that are habitually in the top 10. And I would say in the last maybe decade, the Giants have been there, Cardinals have been there, the Chargers have been there, and the Vikings have been there. So the fact that the Vikings would consider and the Cardinals would consider building their team or go hitching their wagons to wide receivers. In the case of the Cardinals, let me finish my thought on the Vikings. In the case of the Vikings, you've got Justin Jefferson, probably, I think, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the league. And you are 1, 2, 3, 4 years, no, I'm sorry, 4 decades removed from a Super Bowl appearance. Not a Super Bowl win, but a Super Bowl appearance. So you're telling me that you are, and I'm going to repeat this 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4 years, 4 decades, so 40 years, maybe even 50. Is it 50 years? This was in the
It's close.
70s.
It's
It was,
getting
yes,
close.
50 years removed from a Super Bowl. And wide receivers where you want to go. The purple people eaters were what got you to the Super Bowl. When you got to the closest, as great as Randy Moss was, it was John Randall and them dudes that got you closer and got you that 15-1 season. But again, pedigree. Bad teams make bad decisions, which keep them in great drafting position. Going to the Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, one of the greatest receivers of our time. So you're going to go with Marvin Harrison? Let's do some spitballing here. Maybe go with the best lineman. Perhaps you got a quarterback who can't see over toddlers. Maybe go with the highest rated lineman, because I've heard Marvin Harrison too, and it just would make more sense for the Cardinals to draft back, rebuild or build or stack their defensive, offensive line. Kyler, I was about to call him Skyler. Kyler thinks he's a rushing threat. He thinks he's the ultimate threat, but maybe run the ball a little bit. And no, am I barking at the wrong tree here? Am I praying to the wrong God here?
I look at the way that Jonathan Gant, like when you look at that Cardinals offense, there's not really not many weapons there at all.
Mm-hmm.
I can see your point. Like if they want Joe Alt, if they figure, you know what, we do need to protect him, Joe Alt can be there. They can move down 2 spots and probably get another. Knowing them, they could probably get another first round pick or at least a second round, what have you, that they can continue to build and have those assets. At a point, it comes to a time where, A, you're going to have to use all those assets. B, you need the cap room to do that, and 3, you got that as well too. That's a lot. But I just look at like I think they went to Kyle and say, you know what, we're gonna get you some help. You know, you lost.
Right.
They need to get him some help. They really do. I think Jonathan
Get him help
Gannon
in the
is really.
running attack. They get him help as a tight. They get him help with the tight end. I don't even know who their starting tight end is offhand. You would know better than me. I
Zach
know
he
they start.
left. Zach Ertz left.
Yeah, they
Zach
got
Ertz
rid
went
of
to
Zach
Florida.
Ertz,
But that's what
and
that's they ain't
they
got
replaced him
nobody.
with Tony the Tiger for all we know. Like it just seems like the Cardinals, and as great as and Larry Fitzgerald for me was, I wouldn't say he's in my top 5 receivers of all time. I wouldn't even probably put him in the top 10, but he was a terrific Hall of Fame talent. I don't know how good Marvin Harrison is going to be. Marvin Harrison is my sleeper to go in the top 3. So I do think someone's going to move up for him. But that's why I asked you what were you hearing, because to me, you hear the same teams every year making some sort of bad move. And the Vikings, with that division, Chicago's going to obviously draft Caleb. And, I'm seeing the grades on Caleb. I'm hearing the talk about Caleb. But I don't know. And I'll pose the question to you. I see a quarterback who's going to be phenomenal. He may not be phenomenal for the Bears, but I think Odell Beckham will be phenomenal. Am I wrong there?
I think when it's all said and done, I think he's going to be the second best quarterback in this draft. I think Jaden Daniels is a guy who we're going to be talking about, like, when it comes back to the same way we're talking about, like, they passed up Jaden Daniels to get Caleb Williams. I look at that, and, like, just for the fact that Shane Waldron, I have my questions on, like, he's the guy. He's going to be the most important guy in Chicago coming out in his next few months, because he's going to have to indoctrinate him into the NFL system, have a system that's built well for him to take his talents. You got the tools around him. And then I look at Jaden Daniels, I look at his athletic ability, I look at his ability playing at SEC, because we've seen USC quarterbacks come out before it.
Yeah.
You've seen that team down, I was like, I don't trust it. You see, and when I look, I'd rather trust Jaden Daniels against SEC defenses as opposed to Caleb Williams, what we saw against Pac-12 off defenses. And we all know Pac-12 after night, things get freaky after a while. You're like, how did it be? All of a sudden I turned away. It was like 14-10. All of a sudden it's the fourth quarter, 55-35. Like, what's going on there? So
George Sanders looks like a Heisman candidate in the Pac-12. No disrespect in prime, but for Coach Sanders, but yeah, I don't see that. I mean, I don't see that. All right, so you mentioned Jay Daniels, but I'm going to transition a little bit over here. A few weeks ago, I threw you a curveball. He didn't know it was a curveball, but I said, how long would it be before we heard Bill Belichick's name mentioned to Dallas Cowboys? And damn, the peanut butter and jelly don't go together. The draft hasn't even started yet. And did you hear the story that Bill Belichick is coming?
Yeah, I saw that thing. I was like,
Okay.
oh, interesting. And the three teams that he picked, interesting. As much as I see, I just don't see him acquiescing to Jerry, because Jerry's going to have that one stupid move he's going to wake, and he's going to Bill Belichick. I don't think we should do this, and I'll just leave it. And we saw Parcells go down there too, and for a while Parcells got fed up with it, and he left. So I'm like, yeah, I see him go. I guess I can really see Bill going to the Giants, because it's close enough to New England, and in a couple years they'll give him full control. Full
Giants
control.
ain't getting off of Dable, and Dable's the Giants they're gonna push their quarterback on the sword, and Dable will get Dable will get a year or two, because the Giants don't want to. They've already lost Saquon. They look like a dumpster fire. The last thing they want to do is fire the quarterback and fire the coach and need a quarterback. Yeah, I think they give Dable a little bit more. I take a different ride with this Belichick thing, because people say he's not gonna acquiesce to Jerry. Jerry's a peddler. The Cowboys always draft well. They've always drafted well. Yeah, they get some knuckleheads, but they also hit on a lot of picks. And a lot of them may not be all pros, but they're good in the system they run. Bill Belichick is a military guy. I think everyone would agree with that, right?
Maybe
I
you
want to
said
say Abington, but it's not Abington. It's not Valley Forge. Where did he go?
Annapolis.
Annapolis. So what do military guys do? They follow orders. They follow orders. When it's all said and done, they follow the chain of command. Belichick, even if you want to say he's been humble, which I don't think he's been humble, but I do believe that he would relish a fresh start. Robert Kraft, we've seen him not be a quiet owner in any other aspect of life. The FBI investigated him for possible sex trafficking. He's on the sideline with Gucci Mane and Meek Mill. He's got long hair, short hair. He's chilling. He's got Tim's on, and he's got, Stacey Adams, and he's got Spencer shoes. I don't even know the name of. Like, he's all over the place. So it's not far-fetched to believe that Robert Kraft was in there meddling a little bit. And Bill wanted, from all reports, wanted to keep Garoppolo, and they got rid of Garoppolo. He didn't quit. He didn't complain. He just went out and won more Super Bowls. He wanted, from what I say, he wanted to keep Randy. He let Randy go. So I think, and call me crazy, call me good, but I think him and Jerry would be a perfect match. It would be yin and yang, fire and ice. Because when it's all said and done, Bill can blame it on Jerry, and Jerry gets the credit that he deserves, because he hires Bill, and Bill is successful and wins, becomes the all-time leading head coach, wins of all-time leading head coach. I know I said that all screwed up. Still thinking about the The all-time leader in coaching wins in the NFL. He gets that with the star on his helmet. Just like LeBron became the all-time NBA's leading scorer with Lakers across his chest. That means something. And If Bill can build that team and get them to win one or two more games, I think the Eagles will be fine with Jalen Hurts. But the Giants are the Giants, the Commanders slash Redskins are who they are. I don't see why that wouldn't work. I don't see the Giants because I think they're going to hold on to Dable a little bit too long. I think Sirianni has a bounce back year in spite of his moves. I just think Jalen is a self motivated dude. So I think the Eagles will be fine this year. I'm not predicting the Super Bowl, but they'll be in the running. So I think Sirianni stays his job. But I said this before, and I pose a question because I just talked a lot. How long do the Cowboys have before this thing implodes? Because say they go out and they have an okay draft, right? An okay draft, they don't draft a quarterback. Let's say they have a solid draft, no big move made. And they come back, and then they have mini camp, and there's no CD Lamb. So CD Lamb shows up, right? And whatever draft pick they drafted, it looks okay. But let's say they draft a tackle or something because they lost Teron Smith, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, they lost. So they drafted tackle. So it's not a flashy position. And they get out the gate and training camp starts, no CD Lamb, right? So now it's like there's no CD Lamb. Dak is being Dakota, right? Okay, quarterback. They start out 0-2, 0-3. You're telling me, or let me pose this question this way. Do you believe Bill Belichick will not be on the clock at that point? There will not be media people staked out in front of his house. There will not be tweets, Instagram posts, Facebook posts going on hinting that Bill Belichick and Jerry Jones met up here. And Bill Belichick has a home in this area and Jerry Jones flew out in that area. You don't think that's going to happen early in the season?
I don't think so early because I think knowing us and my brethren in the media when it comes to that way, they're just going to throw every single thing on. Well, they could turn this thing around because they need the Cowboys to they need
No,
to half the season.
no.
And then after that, then they'll go, well, Mike McCarthy's going on a hot seat. I see Mike McCarthy getting that. Do you think you're going to get fired? Well, no, I'm going to play it out, see how this goes, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, like toward the back end, if they're really, really out of it, then I see it there. They're going to try to the league likes the Cowboys to be relevant and a stronger one because they think it makes everything better. It makes everything better. Philly and everything else. I think they wait just to have a little bit, a tick more. And I think Belichick will just sit back and he'll be, because I think it's going to be a slow burn because you'll have that. Belichick's going to be an analyst somewhere and wow, this guy's kind of likable. And then halfway
He's
to
not up to be an
intersect,
analyst yet.
I think he will. I think somebody's going to pick him up.
I don't think he is.
They were talking about the Saban and Belichick show, like the Manning cast. They were talking about something like that. So getting the two of them together. So
the
that
story I read, story I heard, and I don't mean cut you off. The story I heard was Belichick was going to get the job in Atlanta, and Kraft apparently torpedoed him or allegedly torpedoed him. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. However, I do believe in. I don't believe in luck, but I believe in opportunity meeting preparation, and I just believe that the Dallas Cowgirls are lined up perfectly for this to happen. And you said McCarthy's on the hot seat, brother. He's in a hot room. There is no seat there. The seat burned last year with Green Bay. You know what? In Dallas. He's in a hot room. They start out 0-2. It's not, are you concerned about your job? It's going to be, well, I can't worry about that right now. To that's out of my control. To we're going to come out and be the best we can. To we'll talk about that at the end of the season. Those are the four answers that are going to be going up and down for him. Look. I threw you the curveball last time. I threw you another strike. I'm ready to strike you out in 3 weeks. Well, not 3 weeks. When the season starts, and they are already talking about Bill Belichick. Wow.
Man, I'm choking up that right now. I'm choking up right now. I'm like, all right, trying to foul these things off left and right.
It's coming, brother. I'm telling you. I've been around sports too long. This is too easy. You mentioned your brethren in the media. Dude, they are waiting for the first. They are on the line with Bill Belichick's barber, his mistress, his jump off, his kids, his realtor, anything to give them the smoking gun that he's coming. That's how they found out LeBron was going to LA. His wife took a tour of the schools in Los Angeles. So then they tried to throw different. They tried to do it in Philly like months later, but it was already done. Mm-hmm. And as a married man, I can tell you, when she starts checking out houses and schools, that's where you're going. That's where you're going. So yeah, I'm not saying he's married. I don't think he's married. I can't. I don't
No,
know what's up.
he's not. He had a girlfriend at the time. I don't think he's married, but he had a girlfriend. Somebody he was dating. Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
married.
It's out of my pay grade. Don't care about that. But yeah, that's one story to keep an eye on. All right. So last week we talked about players on the rise. We talked about guys. I want to get your opinions now that you've had a week and it's getting closer and closer to the draft. I know this week is going to be busy for you. Who's the guy that's going to be, other than JJ McCarthy, who's the guy that people are going to reach for?
This is going to be unpopular, but I think Brock Bowers. And
Really?
the only reason why I say Brock Bowers is the way to tight end. I like the way that you can use it. He's versatile. I like the way you can do to make yards after catch. I think it's fine. But I think there's a shelf life when you look at a guy like that, a tweener and a running back. To me, I'm at the point where you say you might as well get, if you're going to reach for him and go in the top 10 and get him. Like, I don't think he's going to be like number 6 or something like that, but 9, 10. I think just to me, there's so many other needs and other players that are ahead of them. And I think everybody's going to see, like, you know what? Bowers is the top tight end. There's a huge drop off afterwards. Huge. Like, guys that personally I have third round grades on, like third, fourth round. Like, and I think people are going to reach on them too, just because, oh, we need a tight end. We need to put him there. So that's the only reason why I feel like, you know what? Somebody's going to reach in him just to say, oh, we filled a need here and not fully getting and bypassing some other players who I think could be better fits for that, right? Whether it be the Jets. To me, the Jets will make sense for him to do it, to go there, but they need offensive line help. Like, I can see them saying, we got a weapon in the middle to occupy, take some pressure off Garrett Wilson. But yeah, who's going to protect Aaron Rodgers? Well, we'll get that in the second round.
Father time, but that ain't going to happen.
Yep.
The Jets are the JCS, just so you thinking Bowers.
Yeah, I think about for me, and it's not a knock on him. I just think that he's at a position. He timed it perfectly. He's at a position where there's not that much. It's not very deep at all. It's probably the least amount of depth in that position, and he's the best person by far in that. So I think somebody's going to leap before and try to jump on it before everybody else can get anybody else. It's just a bad position this year.
Speaking of bad, the Raiders. I'm gonna get you out on this. The Raiders. So the head coach, who for some reason I'm drawing a blank, but the head coach and GM, and I know his name. Don't tell me his name. I know his name. Linebacker for used to play Antonio Pierce, Coach Pierce,
There you go.
is in a major gruff with the GM about the quarterback position, and he wants to draft quarterback. GM wants to go with veteran. I did a story podcast a couple of weeks ago where I talked about in the last 30 or so years, there's only been 4 quarterbacks, veteran retreads, who led their team to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Manning, Brady, obviously, and Manning, Brady, and
Stafford.
I'm doing terrible today. But
Stafford.
Manning and Brady, huh?
Stafford.
Stafford. It was somebody else too. Stafford. It was Manning, Brady, Stafford, but it had only been 4. And it was a pretty bad list of guys that had moved teams. So I reached out to Emery Hunt, and Spencer Rattler was the name he threw to me to be perfect fit for him. So I suggested that. I don't know if it got back to Coach Pierce, but he suggested that they go with a rookie or maybe draft the position and build from within. Do you see that possibly happening in Oakland, or a situation where for the first time, Mark Davis allows his team to work it out themselves? And what I mean by that is he allowed Gruden roughshod, but Gruden screwed it all up. And Mike Mike Mayock didn't draft well, which always blows my mind.
It's
But
weird.
he allowed them, well, because he was a good analyst
Yeah.
on NFL Network. But I guess it's different when you're calling the shots and you got to do interviews, not just height, weight, speed. You got to sit down and talk to a kid, because that's the difference. I don't want to go on a tangent, but that's the, like, I always go back to this. You get to watch film all day of Markelle Fultz. You can watch film all day of Ryan Leaf. But if you sit in a room with Peyton Manning and talk football, they can't stand Baker Mayfield. But when Baker Mayfield talks football, you often sit back like, yeah, he know what he's talking about. Like, you believe in this kid. But when those other dudes, like when Fultz talks basketball, he's like twirling his hair, he's popping gum. You know what I mean? When you're talking about Leaf, even when Ryan Leaf, now that he's sober, talks football, it's still like, you know what I mean? And so the different point I'm trying to make is, it's easy to turn on the film, and for some people, it's easy to look at talent. but you got to get around the kid and you got to feel him. And that's what I think Mayock was uh, disassociated or disenchanted or disconnected. But going back to my question, do you think this is an opportunity for Davis to step in and pick a side, or is he just going to allow this thing to work itself out?
If it's really comes down to a quarterback or not, I think he has to, because that's the guy who's going to be your face of your franchise. That's the guy who's going to be lead team. That's you lean on. That's the guy who could also set you back 5 years. So if it needs to be a quarterback, he has to step in. He has to say, you know what? And I look at that, and you looking at their roster, they need a quarterback. I'm sorry, Aiden O'Connell. I'm not trusting Aiden O'Connell to run that all. No.
They want to trade, from what I'm reading, and I know you're not up on, I know you're not up on the Raiders, but I'm over here, and it's a big deal to me because I feel like it's a franchise that they've missed too many times. To be as good as they are, I mentioned the Vikings being 50 years away from even appearing in the Super Bowl. Shoot, the Raiders are what, 30 years away? And the Gruden fiasco was just, but they were a proud franchise and they just missed too many times. And it feels like they, the same people are in the room when you're missing the shots, you might want to get them out of there. And Mark Davis is always in the room. He's getting rid of everybody else, but he's always in the room. So that's why I bring it up. But from what I'm understanding, they want to go young. There are people that want to go with a veteran. I just don't see it with veterans anymore. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I'm his biggest defender. But the ceiling for the Falcons is because they play in a bad division. It's wild card weekend. That's their ceiling.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing a dirty bird. They go to wild card weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Raiders, they're beating against Patrick Mahomes. Like, you need a guy that's going to help you compete against Mahomes. Not beat him, but compete. So do you think they should go younger?
I think the perfect guy for them that is unfortunately for them is the Patriots. I thought they should have gone with a veteran guy, draft a younger guy, and let them go that way. I look at it, to me, Rattler could be it, but I think you may have to trade in the back end in the first half because I think somebody's going to take a shot at him. I think at 30, especially with to get that 5th-year option, so you get the extra year. I just don't see to them. Bo Nix, I wouldn't take that. Penix is the one to me. If Penix is there, that's the guy I go for. But you got to make sure you retrofit your offensive line with a left-handed guy too. So you're looking at, okay, who's going to be protecting his black side? So you got to worry about the right tackle side. So I'm like, it's tough.
You just shot over every casual football fan's head with that. Now you got to fix your offensive line because you're left-handed quarterback. Those are like, wow, I never even thought about that. But exactly, Bo Nix was the name I was hearing, and I don't like Bo Nix either. I don't like anything about Bo Nix, from his name to the way he wears his cleats. I don't like anything about that dude. I really don't. I don't. And quarterback. I mentioned in the opening show, I said pedigree. Marcus Mariota. The quarterback, he played for the Eagles. I thought he would be a good Dixon. I forget his first name. Dixon, the quarterback for the Ducks years ago.
Anthony Dixon?
I don't know exactly. The fact that we are sitting here trying to remember his name, but his name is Dixon. And then if you want to go even further, was it Keith Smith? The quarterback.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
The third pick. Yeah, right behind McNabb. Yeah.
So Oregon doesn't produce good quarterbacks. They just don't. If it wasn't for LeGarrette Blount, you could say they don't produce anything good. Because from Chip Kelly on down, maybe you want to go Lodi Nada, but I mean, yeah, that's a reach.
That's a reach and a half.
Yeah, I can't think of the best player, the dominant player in the last decade to come out of Oregon. And yeah, when you got to look up at your eyebrows, that's when you know.
Devin Allen's not.
Who?
Devin Allen's not one of them.
Who? So you got Devontae Adams on there, the wideout, and you want to go with it. I still think you got to go quarterback. I do. I think you got to go young and build that team. They've got substantial cap space. They're a team that is, and look, you know how I feel about Justin Herbert. It's a lot of it ain't my fault numbers. It is a lot of ain't my fault numbers. And I think Harbaugh's going to bail. And I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a quarterback this year. I really wouldn't. Herbert he's played through injury, but they've underachieved. Have they even released Bosa yet, or are we still waiting for the finale on that?
I still think it's waiting, and I wonder if they wait to do it before June 1st, or put a June 1st designation if they do that.
They might do a restructure, They might try to do a restructure, but I mean, they've had some terrific players in San Diego. Both saying one of them, and they know it. They know it at this point. He's always hurt. He's the Embiid of the
Oh
NFL.
gosh, not me.
I don't know what the Sixers score is, but I feel like Embiid is somewhere at the foul line, getting ripped, screwing me, and pulling my heart out. So I'll leave it there on that one. Chris, I appreciate you. Give me something, man. Give me something draft wise. I don't know, a player, a team. Give me something that your instincts are telling you that's going to happen. Good or bad, doesn't matter what it is.
When all said and done, I think we're going to be looking at the Arizona Cardinals having one of the best drafts that we've seen in a
Oh,
while.
stop it.
I think
Oh,
we'll see it. I think
oh,
when it's all said and done, I think you'll look at the names. Like it may not. I'll say this because we all know how we shoot these names out. Like if we're shooting basketball and we're thinking like we're shooting threes, we're shooting about like all those analysts are shooting like 30% if we're lucky. I think it's gonna be one thing where we'll look at the names that we're taking they did, and you're like, wow, they really turned themselves around. Now they coached up the right way and developed the right way. That's a whole nother story, Jonathan Gannon. That's a whole nother story where you're looking at. So I really think they're gonna be one. I think they're gonna be the talk of the team, the talk of night one, especially. And the other one, the Kansas City Chiefs, I think they trade up and get a wide receiver, given the Rasheed Rice thing. And I could see them really if Brian Thomas LSU wide receiver is still there, I would not be surprised they tried to trade up to get him.
just thinking that. I was just thinking that cat from LSU.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now that's a gem right there. I would love to see it. It's great to see Andy go out with everything that he sacrificed in Philadelphia with his family and the Donovan McNabb years and hearing about Donovan. I love seeing Andy ride out on top. He finally got a quarterback that could do it the way he wanted it to be done. And he didn't have to belittle him and berate him to do it. And the fact that it's a brother, so that warmed my heart. Chris, I appreciate you, man. Maybe we'll do a draft recap next week if you're available. If you're not on a jet somewhere or taking a break.
If only. If only. We still got many OTA, rookie OTAs, and then got many other OTA stuff. We'll be around. This circle keeps going, man. But I appreciate thank you for having me on,
17
man.
games for 365 days a year of work. Gotta love it. That is the NFL. And that is it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you like, share, subscribe, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He's Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, until next time, we appreciate your time here. You be easy.